Hey y'all, welcome back to the BurrEAU. I'm Hillary, your resident fragrance loving muggle. So I wanted my first video of 2021 to showcase about 10 fragrances that contain my current favorite note in perfumery, which is iris or orris butter. So if you want to hear what those are, stay tuned. So iris is considered to be one of the rarest ingredients in perfumery, and that's because it actually takes 3 to 5 years of the root being underground in order for it to be ready to be cultivated, and it's all done by hand. They actually will extract the resins from the root, and that's what becomes the orris butter, which can go for about 50,000 euros for only 1 kilogram. That's a whole lot of money for something that's used in fragrances, in apothecary kind of medicinal usages, cosmetics, who knows what else. But it's also my favorite. So go figure, a lot of my fragrances that contain iris are not very cheap. So the first fragrance that I have for you is Maison Lancome's Iris Dragee. Now this is a very gourmand take on iris. This also contains sugar, vanilla, and almond, all supporting that beautiful iris note. This is very fluffy, but also somewhat dry. It kind of makes you think of like a dry cookie dough or something along those lines. This is a fragrance that I like to spray on my scarf in the fall and winter just because I find it to be so cozy and attractive. So that was Maison Lancome's Iris Dragee. So my next fragrance is one of the newest fragrances from the house of Zoologist, and that is Musk Deer. I find this fragrance to be kind of hard to describe, but I would say it smells like a very fizzy cream soda with like a darker animalic undertone, but then as it dries down, it doesn't stay as dark underneath, and it kind of just turns into this fluffy, fuzzy cocoon of marshmallow. It does sit fairly close to the skin after about an hour or two, but it does last and last, and this is just cozy, warm, and happy, and just a beautiful fragrance, and I think one of the most wearable from the house of Zoologist. So next I have a really unique fruity take on iris, and this is Poets of Berlin from Vilhelm Perfumerie. Now this fragrance has notes of lemon and blueberry, bamboo and wild green iris, vanilla, sandalwood, and vetiver. This fragrance has so many different stages that it goes through. It has this fruity opening, this very watery and green mid, and then also this kind of smooth base. So it's almost like you're transitioning from this juvenile fruitiness to this sophisticated and elegant ending that you have. And it's just very interesting, and it's definitely one of those fragrances that every time I wear it, I am surprised by how well done it is and how different it is from anything else in my collection. So yeah, that was Poets of Berlin from Vilhelm Perfumerie. So next I have 2 fragrances from the house of Gallivant that couldn't be more different, Brooklyn and Bukhara. Now Bukhara is a very dry, spicy take on iris. This also has a very carroty-like nuance to it. It also has a kind of cold vibe, almost as if it's like satin against your skin. It's also very musky. This is a beautiful fragrance, but not one that I reach for as much as I reach for Brooklyn. Now Brooklyn is one that I like to wear to bed a lot. This is a more ambery perfume. It also has a lot of citrus notes in here. It's very fluffy and cozy and enveloping, which apparently is probably my favorite way to do iris. I like all the fluff. Fluffy. But yeah, this is a beautiful orangey, fluffy marshmallow of an iris fragrance, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So those were Bukhara and Brooklyn. So next, we have a fragrance that's very hard to get, at least for people here in the US, because it's only sold in a few stores in Europe, and that is Guerlain's Iris Ganache. I only have this much, but this is a fragrance that I absolutely adore. This is cinnamon and white chocolate, vanilla, iris. This is just, when I spray it, I just want to lick it off my body. It's so good. It's very expensive to try to get a bottle here, and I'm pretty sure you do have to go to Paris to get it in general. But I would totally sell my body on the street to get one, I don't care. This is such a beautiful gourmand vanilla fragrance that is so creamy and happy and warm that it's totally worth it. So that was Guerlain's Iris Ganache. So next on the list is Christian Dior's Diorama Intense. Now, although it says Homme, I promise you do not have to have a winky in order to wear this fragrance. This fragrance also contains another one of my favorite notes, which is ambrette, which is this really nice, warm, dark, musky kind of thing. So this is just another one of those huggable, bury your nose in it kind of fragrances that I just can't get enough of. So that is Christian Dior's Diorama Intense. So next we have Cuir d'Erie by Atelier Materi. Now this fragrance, although it says cuir, meaning leather, and it contains suede and leather, I actually don't smell any of that leather. This is a very luxurious, soapy iris fragrance. It also kind of gives me vetiver vibes, even though I don't think vetiver is a listed note, but it definitely has a green, earthy undertone with that bright soapiness. This is very clean. This is a fragrance that could easily be somebody's just daily staple. A beautiful scent that is Cuir d'Erie from Atelier Materi. Next we have Vanille d'Erie from Ormonde Jayne. Now when I first started wearing this fragrance, the only thing I could smell was the vetiver. I couldn't smell the vanilla or the iris, and I was kind of bummed. However, over the last month or so, I guess maybe my nose has gotten more used to it, or maybe it's just because it's sat, I don't know. But this is, although kind of green and earthy in the opening, it does have this very fluffy iris, kind of cottony cloud over top of this beautiful vanilla, and still some of those earthy tones like vetiver. There's some pink pepper in there that kind of adds some cool spice. This is just a really interesting, very, very unisex fragrance, and I think it's just one that could easily be a staple in almost anybody's collection. That's Vanille d'Erie from Ormonde Jayne. So next we have a more animalic take on iris, and that is Francesca Bianchi's The Lover's Tale. Now this fragrance does contain leather and castoreum, but it's balanced with honey and heliotrope and iris and rose, and this is just very intoxicating. I find the opening to be really sweet, and there's a little bit of a peachy nuance in there, which isn't exactly my thing, but once it starts to dry down, the leather in here is just gorgeous and dark and sensual, and I can't get enough of it, which is good because the last time I sprayed it on my hand while I was just kind of testing things, it lasted for almost 48 hours, and I showered multiple times and washed my hands in there. So I don't know what kind of magic adhesion stuff is in here, but this is extremely long lasting, and that is The Lover's Tale from Francesca Bianchi. So my last two are probably my favorites. First up we have Xerjoff's Fatal Charme, and this is a very aldehydic iris fragrance. This kind of has a citrusiness to it, but it also has this beautiful creaminess. I like to think of the aldehydes in here as like a cold breeze on a sunny day. It's like the sun is shining through the clouds, and you kind of get this whiff of like this fluffy vanilla marshmallow on the wind, and it is just so happy, amazingly long lasting, the quality you expect from Xerjoff, and that is Fatal Charme. And last but not least, we have Nightclubbing by Celine. Now this is a really interesting fragrance because it opens up very strong in oak moss, but within like an hour, it dries into this super buttery vanilla and iris, and it's almost mouth-watering how like sticky like buttercream it is. It's so good. This is a fragrance that makes me feel put together anytime I wear it. And it's actually one that I've gotten a compliment on from my mother, who hates fragrances, so that's always neat. Yeah, so that was Nightclubbing by Celine. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to hear my favorite iris-based scents, and be sure to drop your favorites in the discussion below. Thank you guys so much for stopping by the BurrEAU, and I can't wait to see you guys again next time. Toodles!